Joining us right now at the Silver Diner is Fox News Chief White House Correspondent Ed Henry.
Yeah.
Ed Henry, so good to see you, sir.
Wow. Yeah.
And
an enthusiastic crowd.
Ed and the whole team of Fox News Channel is going to be giving election coverage, of course, Tuesday night. And you're going to be reporting from the White House. What are they going to have you do? Standing in front of the building out there in the cold?
Yeah, and we're going to be waiting to see whether the president, is congratulated by Harry Reid and others, or whether he has to make that phone call to Mitch McConnell to say, congratulations, you're the new Senate Majority Leader. That's what Republicans are waiting for. We'll see whether that happens. I mean, he's been toxic on the campaign trail, which is why he's out on the road right now, but he's only doing really gubernatorial races. He's not getting involved in any of these key Senate races that are going to help shape his legacy, because they're in a lot of red states where he can't go. Louisiana, North Carolina, Arkansas, Alaska. Alaska would probably be a long trip. I'm not sure he'd make that one anyway.
Well, I understand they're theoretically red states, but North Carolina he carried in 2008.
Sure.
It was close. That's where they had the DNC in 2012. New Hampshire is actually, I believe,
well, Gene Shaheen, I thought, had one of the funniest. Remember that debate with Scott Brown? They've had several of them, but one about a week ago. Basically, Shaheen was saying, well, no, Wolf Blitzer, I think, was saying, do you want the president to campaign? She said, no, he's busy with ISIS and Ebola, and he's got a day job, right? And Wolf Blitzer said, well, I understand that, but do you want him to come here? And she basically said, I think he's busy with the other stuff. Let's just let him do that. And I think that summed it up right there. There's Democrats who, they're friendly with him, and as the president has said, and he's kind of put these Democrats in a tougher spot by going on Al Sharpton's radio show a week or so ago saying, hey, they may be running for me, but they supported my policies. A lot of Democrats don't want to hear that right
Exactly. And I wanted to ask you about that comment in particular, because you've observed this president and this White House for quite some time. The fact that these Democrats don't want him on the campaign trail, I mean, he seems to thrive on the campaign trail. It's one thing that he does very well. It's got to be eaten at him.
Oh, absolutely, because this is essentially his last campaign. You don't see him getting too involved in 2016. But I'm reminded, to be fair, of, and Brian was there covering President Bush in 2006. You remember George W. Bush was toxic over Iraq. And I remember Laura Bush being more popular on the campaign trail than George W. Bush by the end. And guess what? Michelle Obama's more popular. Even Joe Biden is going to the Iowa Senate race. Now, when he goes out on the road, he ends up putting his foot in his mouth a lot. But they trust him more on the campaign trail right now. He's been out there in the Iowa Senate race, which is one of the key ones, and not the president.
Wow.
When Joe Biden is getting out there ahead of you, that tells you a lot.
Yeah. Let me turn to something that's very much in the news this morning, and it's Stu Rothenberg's report over at Roll Call about how the midterm election is going to go, and this is the way he characterized it. It's likely to be the worst midterm numbers of any two-term president going back to Harry S. Truman. Just to recap, if you don't know, he is predicting that Democrats could lose 5 to 12 or more seats in the House, likely to lose 5 or more seats, maybe as many as 10 in the Senate. But it's interesting that he characterizes this as a huge blow to the presidency of this president in particular.
Well, look, I think Stu's one of the best and is nonpartisan, and I think when he says that, you listen. And I think it's very clear right now, it's hard to not see Republicans getting 52, 53 seats in the Senate, because so many of these races are in those red states where the president's had to stay away. But I would caution that a lot of them, even where the president's approval rating is very low, the Republican candidates have not been pulling ahead by some big lead. They're all within the margin of error, or many of them anyway. And so that's why I'd caution that I still don't quite see a wave.
You don't see it
where it's like 10 seats or something like that in the Senate. But 6, 7, you can easily craft that.
We really appreciate the fact that you are one of the few people that will sit there in the front row at the White House briefing room and ask the hard questions. One of the questions that has come up recently is that the president is poised to do something on immigration.
Sure.
Now, Joe Biden says it's going to be significant. It's going to be big. And there's some suggestion, I saw your exchange the other day, about the green paper and all of that. I mean, something is in the works.
Something muy grande.
But don't we have an obligation? Doesn't the president have an obligation to tell us what that is instead of waiting till after the election?
Well, he's kicked a lot of things past the election. I mean, he was supposed to nominate a new attorney general. He didn't want to do that yet because he knows it's going to kick up opposition. The CIA torture report.
They don't want it to get mired in politics.
And they say that, but they just also don't want to bring anything up that might hurt the Democrats more than they're already hurt. And so, I think you raise a good question, which is there's no doubt about it that the president is poised. I think it's probably more than one executive order. I think he's going to do two or three different things. Some of it more work permits, keep more people in the country. It's going to be called amnesty. He's going to say it's not.
Well,
but
I think a flurry of activity, given the fact he's going to have a lame-duck Democratic Senate at the very least.
And they're going to try to get as much
Cram
through
as much
there
through,
as they can, because if he's losing control of the Senate come January, he's going to get a lot less done. So he's going to try to get all that done in December, but I bet there'll be a wall of opposition to a lot of it.
Our guest is Fox News Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry, and they're going to be providing election coverage, of course, on Fox News. You're going to be reporting from
Tuesday
the
night,
White
I'll be
House.
at the White House.
And in the briefing room there, is that where you play? Or you're going to have?
No, we'll be outside. I'll put on a winter coat if it's getting cold. It's all right.
I got to ask you. Jake.
By the way, where's your address? Because I wanted to come by. You said you do trick or treating well past 10. Because my daughter.
See, look at he's got a 5 o'clock shadow. You're going to come by. Oh, I'm sure it's for your daughter, Ed.
Oh, you got to get up early for the show, though.
Please don't.
Are you going to put the porch light out? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. Are you going to trick or treat at the White House?
Our porch light goes off at about 7:30.
Go get some of the apples from Michelle Obama.
Wilson's in bed before 8 or 9.
He's
He's got those little fuzzy slippers.
Covers up over his head. I got it. Jay Carney had been the White House spokesperson for so long. He's now a fellow cable news colleague with you, which is fun to watch. We love watching the media. We love how the media interacts with politics as part of what we talk about every morning. It seems to me, Ed Henry, that Josh Earnest has sort of become a bit of a sparring partner with you, more so than with Jay Carney. We play a lot of your is there something about your personalities that kind of bring something out of you?
I think Josh really is kind of a bit more straightforward than Jay Carney, kind of down to earth. He's a Kansas City guy, by the way, and his heart was broken a couple nights ago, I think, by the Royals.
Yeah, that's rough.
But and so my point being that it's hard to kind of get Josh Earnest excited and angry at you, because he genuinely, I think, is a nice guy. Whereas Carney really sort of loved the sport of kind of coming at you and all that. So it's kind of harder to get Josh Earnest's goat. That's part of what we try to do, though. And I did that with Dana Perino when it was the Bush White House and the late Tony Snow. You got to do that. The people in power deserve tough questions, and they should be getting it from every row, not just the front row, not just from Fox.
Thank you.
Did you know that Ed, that's right. Did you know that Ed has a WMAL connection?
I did not know.
Yeah. I kind of got my start here. When I was at Roll Call Newspaper, which you mentioned before, I used to do little radio spots here on WMAL. It was my first broadcast opportunity. So when you guys called and said you wanted me to come out here, I thought I'd love to do it.
There you go.
Well, welcome back, Ed Henry, and don't be a stranger. Yeah. By the way, for those of you who were not reading between the lines, let me reinterpret Ed Henry's last answer. He said, unlike Jay Carney, Josh Earnest is a straightforward, nice guy.
You're reading into
That's
it a
exactly
little bit,
what you said.
Now I understand. These politicians get their words twisted.
That's it. Ed, we really appreciate you coming out and joining us.
Thanks a lot, Ed Henry. Fox News
Ed Henry, everybody.